The moment I saw those legal documents spread across our kitchen table, I knew my little joke at the club had cost me everything. But let me start from the beginning, when I thought I was just having harmless fun. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Irene Vane, and I work as a dental receptionist in downtown Chicago. At 32, I thought I had life figured out. I lived with my boyfriend, Deacon, a quiet accountant who preferred Netflix to nightlife. We'd been together for 3 years, and honestly, I was getting bored. Deacon was the kind of guy who brought me coffee every morning and remembered my favorite Thai restaurant. Sweet, sure, but predictable. At 34, he acted more like 64. While I wanted to dance until dawn, he wanted to discuss quarterly tax reports. "Babe, the girls are going to Pulse tonight," I announced, applying mascara in our bathroom mirror. "You should come with us for once." Deacon looked up from his laptop, glasses sliding down his nose. "It's Wednesday, Irene. I have the Morrison account review tomorrow morning." "You always have some account review." I rolled my eyes. "When's the last time we actually went out together? Like, really went out?" He sighed, closing his laptop. "Last month we went to that wine bar you liked." "That stuffy place where everyone whispered. That's not going out, that's hiding." I turned to face him, hands on my hips. "I'm 32, not 82. I want to have fun while I still can." "I never said you couldn't have fun. But you make me feel guilty about it. Every time I mention going out, you get that look." "What look?" "That disapproving, judgmental look, like I'm some party girl who doesn't know better." I grabbed my purse. "You know what? Fine. Stay home with your spreadsheets. I'll go have actual fun." Deacon stood up slowly. "That's not fair, Irene. I work hard so we can..." "So we can what? Sit in this apartment every night watching true crime documentaries?" I shook my head. "I'm going out. Don't wait up." The thing about Deacon was that he never fought back. He'd just get this wounded look and retreat into himself. Part of me wished he'd get angry, show some passion. Instead, he just nodded and said, "Be safe." My sister Emma was already at Pulse when I arrived, surrounded by our usual crew, Chloe, Jade, and Tara. They were the kind of friends who always told you what you wanted to hear. "Where's Deacon?" Emma asked, scanning the crowd behind me. "Home, being boring as usual," I replied, accepting the martini Chloe handed me. "Girl, you need to trade up," Jade laughed. "There are so many hot guys here tonight." "Right, like that bartender." Tara pointed toward the bar. "He's been checking you out since you walked in." I followed her gaze to the bartender. Tall, dark hair, easy smile. He was definitely cute, with the kind of confident swagger Deacon lacked. When he caught me looking, he winked. "His name's Dylan," Emma informed me. "I talked to him earlier. He's single, plays guitar in a band, and thinks accountants are soul-crushing." "Emma," I laughed, but I was flattered. When had a guy last looked at me like that? Deacon barely glanced up from his computer anymore. "I'm just saying, you're young and gorgeous. Why settle for boring?" The music was loud, the lights were dim, and after 3 martinis, I felt more alive than I had in months. Dylan kept sending drinks our way, always with that charming smile. Every time I looked over, he was watching me. "Go talk to him," Chloe urged. "I have a boyfriend," I protested, but it sounded weak even to me. "A boyfriend who couldn't be bothered to come out with his own girlfriend," Emma pointed out. "Besides, talking isn't cheating." She was right. What was wrong with a little harmless flirting? I wasn't going to do anything serious. I was just having fun, being social. Deacon was probably asleep already anyway. I walked to the bar, feeling confident and beautiful. Dylan's face lit up when he saw me approaching. "Well, well," he said, leaning across the bar. "The mysterious beauty finally comes to see me." "Mysterious?" I laughed. "I'm pretty straightforward." "Are you?" Because I've been trying to figure you out all night. His voice was smooth, practiced. You're here with friends, but you keep looking around like you're waiting for someone. Maybe I was waiting for the right someone to notice me. Mission accomplished. He poured himself a shot and raised it, to beautiful women who know what they want. We talked for 20 minutes about music, travel, dreams, all the things Deacon and I never discussed anymore. Dylan was interesting, worldly. He'd been to Europe, played gigs in Nashville, lived life on his own terms. So what do you do when you're not charming women at bars? I asked. This is just my day job. Well, night job. I'm really a musician. Got a gig this weekend at the Metro. That's amazing. My boyfriend would never do anything that spontaneous. Boyfriend? Dylan's eyebrows raised. Where is this boyfriend? Home, probably asleep by now. I felt a twinge of guilt but pushed it away. He's not really the going out type. His loss, Dylan said, refilling my drink. Any guy who lets a woman like you go out alone is either very confident or very stupid. I laughed louder than necessary. The alcohol was making me bold, reckless. Maybe he's just boring. Well, boring's not a problem I have. That's when I heard Emma's voice behind me, loud enough for half the bar to hear. Irene, tell Dylan about your boring accountant boyfriend. I turned to see my friends approaching, clearly as drunk as I was. They were giggling, swaying slightly. Ladies, Dylan greeted them with professional charm. Dylan, you should know that Irene here is totally available, Jade announced. Her boyfriend is basically a robot. Jade, I protested, but I was laughing. It's true. When's the last time Deacon took you anywhere fun? Emma demanded. That's not... I started, but Tara cut me off. Seriously, Dylan, you could totally replace her boyfriend. At least you know how to have a good time. The words hung in the air for a moment. Then, emboldened by alcohol and attention, I heard myself saying something I'd regret forever. You know what? She's right. Any guy in this club could probably replace my boyfriend for the price of a cocktail. My friends erupted in laughter. Dylan grinned and started making an elaborate cocktail, playing along with the joke. Other guys at nearby tables turned to look, some raising their drinks in mock salute. One boyfriend replacement cocktail coming right up, Dylan announced, sliding a colourful drink across the bar. That's when I saw him. Deacon was standing near the entrance, still in his work clothes, looking around the crowded club. He must have changed his mind about coming out. Maybe he'd wanted to surprise me. Our eyes met across the room just as Dylan handed me the drink, and my friends cheered. I watched Deacon's face change, confusion, hurt, then something harder, something I'd never seen before. He'd heard everything. The laughter died in my throat as Deacon turned and walked straight back out the door. I stood there, frozen, holding Dylan's cocktail while my friends continued giggling around me. Irene, you okay? Emma asked, following my gaze to the now empty entrance. I set the drink down with shaking hands. I think I just made a terrible mistake. I stumbled out of the club, pushing through the crowd, but Deacon was already gone. The parking lot was nearly empty, and his sensible Honda was nowhere to be seen. I called his phone 3 times, but it went straight to voicemail. Deacon, please call me back. It wasn't what it looked like. I was just joking around with the girls. Please don't be mad. By the time I got home at 2 a.m., Deacon was in bed with his back to me. I could tell by his breathing that he wasn't asleep, but when I tried to talk to him, he didn't respond. Baby, I'm sorry, I whispered. I was drunk and being stupid. You know I didn't mean anything by it. Silence. I tried to cuddle up to him, but his body was rigid. Deacon, please, talk to me. I'm tired, Irene, he said finally, his voice flat. We'll talk tomorrow. But we didn't talk tomorrow. Deacon left for work before I woke up, and when I texted him, his responses were short and cold. Can we please discuss this like adults? Nothing to discuss. You're being ridiculous. It was just a joke. Okay. That one-word response made my stomach clench. Deacon never said just okay to anything. He was the kind of person who wrote paragraph-long texts about what to have for dinner. At work, I found myself checking my phone constantly. Between patients, I texted Emma. Deacon is being such a baby about last night. What happened after we left? He saw me at the bar with Dylan and now he's giving me the silent treatment. Ugh, men are so dramatic. He'll get over it. But as the day wore on, I started to feel genuinely worried. When I got home, Deacon was in the kitchen making dinner, just one serving. "Aren't you going to make enough for both of us?" I asked. "I didn't know if you'd be home," he replied without looking at me. "Where else would I be?" "I don't know, Irene. Where else would you be?" The way he said my name, like it left a bad taste in his mouth, made me angry. "Okay, I get it. You're mad. But you're acting like I cheated on you or something. I was just having fun with my friends." Deacon finally looked at me, and I was startled by what I saw in his eyes. Not anger, something much worse. Disappointment. "Is that what you call it? Fun?" "Yes. God, Deacon, when did you become such a prude? I can't even talk to another guy without you acting like I committed a crime. You told a bar full of strangers that any man could replace me for the price of a drink. It was a joke. Was it?" He turned off the stove and faced me fully. "Because from where I stood, it looked like you meant every word." I felt heat rise in my cheeks. "You're being paranoid." "Am I? You've been complaining about how boring I am for months. How I never want to go out. How I'm not fun enough for you. Maybe you're right." "I never said—" "You didn't have to say it, Irene. You announced it to an entire bar." I could see this conversation spiraling out of control. I needed to de-escalate, make him understand that he was overreacting. "Look, I'm sorry if your feelings got hurt, but you have to admit, you've been kind of distant lately. We never do anything together anymore. So this is my fault. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. I'm saying maybe we both need to try harder." I moved closer to him, putting my hand on his arm. "I love you, Deacon. You know that, right?" He looked down at my hand but didn't pull away. "Do you? Because lately, it feels like you're embarrassed by me." "That's not true. Your friends think I'm boring. Your sister thinks you should trade up. And apparently, you agree with them. I don't—" "You do." His voice was quiet now, resigned. "And maybe they're right. Maybe you deserve someone more exciting than an accountant who likes staying home." "Deacon, don't say that." But he'd already turned away, leaving his dinner on the counter and heading toward our bedroom. "I'm going to bed early. I have a long day tomorrow." I stood alone in the kitchen, staring at the single serving of pasta he'd made. For the first time, I wondered if I'd pushed too far. Over the next few days, Deacon became a stranger. He was polite but distant, like a roommate rather than a boyfriend. He still made coffee for both of us in the morning, but he didn't kiss me goodbye. He answered when I spoke to him, but he didn't initiate conversations. It was driving me crazy. "He's being so dramatic," I complained to Emma over lunch. "It's been 4 days and he's still giving me the cold shoulder." "Maybe he needs more time to get over it," Emma suggested, though she looked uncomfortable. "Get over what? I didn't do anything wrong. I talked to a bartender and made a stupid joke. That's it." "Well, it was kind of a harsh joke." I stared at my sister. "You're taking his side now." "I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying, if someone said that about my boyfriend in public, I'd be pretty hurt too." "Since when do you care about Deacon's feelings? Last week you were telling me I could do better." Emma shifted in her seat. "I was just trying to be supportive, but seeing his face when he walked into that club, I felt bad for him." "His face? You saw him?" "Yeah, he looked around for you, all hopeful. Like he'd decided to surprise you by coming out. And then he heard—" She trailed off. "Heard what?" "Everything. The whole conversation. About him being boring and replaceable and—" Emma winced. "It was pretty brutal, Irene." A cold feeling settled in my stomach. "How much did he hear?" "Enough." That night, I tried a different approach. I made Deacon's favorite dinner, opened a bottle of wine, and waited for him to come home. When he walked in and saw the setup, he paused. "What's all this?" "An apology," I said, smiling. "I've been thinking about what you said, and you're right. I was insensitive." Deacon hung up his jacket slowly. "Okay. I made your favorite, chicken parmesan, and I got that wine you like from the Italian place." "Thank you." He sat down across from me, but his posture was guarded. We ate in relative silence, making small talk about work and the weather. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. "Are we going to be okay?" I asked. Deacon set down his fork and looked at me for a long moment. "I don't know." "What do you mean, you don't know?" "I mean, I don't know if I can forget what happened. What you said." "Deacon, I was drunk. People say stupid things when they're drunk." "Do they? Or do they just say what they really think without the filter?" I felt my temper flare. "So now you're a psychologist?" "I'm just trying to understand how the woman I love could humiliate me like that in front of strangers." "I didn't humiliate you. You weren't even supposed to be there." "So that makes it okay?" "It makes it none of your business what I say when I'm out with my friends." Deacon stared at me, and I realized I'd said exactly the wrong thing. Again. "None of my business," he repeated slowly. "What my girlfriend says about me in public is none of my business." "That's not what I meant." "Isn't it?" He stood up from the table. "Thanks for dinner, Irene. It was delicious." He left me sitting there with 2 full plates and an empty feeling in my chest. By the weekend, I was desperate to fix things with Deacon, but I was also angry. He was being unreasonable, holding on to this grudge like I'd committed some unforgivable sin. All I'd done was have a little fun, and he was acting like I'd betrayed him. Saturday morning, Deacon announced he was going to his mother's house to help her with some home repairs. "I'll come with you," I offered. "That's okay. You probably have plans with your friends anyway." The dismissive way he said it stung. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. I just figured you'd rather spend your weekend somewhere more exciting than fixing a leaky faucet." "Stop putting words in my mouth." "I'm not putting anything anywhere. I'm just acknowledging reality." After he left, I found myself restless and irritated. I cleaned the apartment, did laundry, and tried to watch TV, but nothing held my interest. Finally, I texted the girls. "Anyone want to get brunch?" "Yes." "Bottomless mimosas at Sage? Perfect. See you in an hour." At brunch, I found myself complaining about Deacon again. The mimosas were flowing, and my friends were eager to take my side. "He's being such a baby," Jade declared. "It's been a week." "Right, like, get over it already," Tara agreed. "You were just having fun." "Maybe this is a sign," Emma said carefully. "Maybe you two aren't as compatible as you thought." "What do you mean?" "I mean, you're outgoing and social, and he's not. Maybe you need someone who can keep up with you." "Someone like Dylan," Chloe added with a grin. I felt my phone buzz and saw a text from an unknown number. "Hey, gorgeous. It's Dylan from Pulse. Got your number from Emma. Hope that's okay." I stared at the message, my heart racing. Emma was watching me with a knowing smile. "You gave him my number?" "I might have mentioned you were having relationship troubles," she said innocently. "What do you want?" I texted back. "To see you again." "Coffee?" "No pressure." I looked around the table at my friends, all watching me expectantly. "He wants to get coffee." "Do it," Jade exclaimed. "What have you got to lose?" "I have a boyfriend." "A boyfriend who's ignoring you," Emma pointed out. "Besides, it's just coffee. What's the harm?" "Just coffee? Just coffee. I promise to be a perfect gentleman." I hesitated, thumb hovering over the keyboard. Deacon was probably at his mother's right now, complaining about me. He'd made it clear he didn't trust me anyway, so what difference would it make? "Okay. When and where?" "Tomorrow afternoon? There's a great place called Grind on State Street. See you there." As soon as I hit send, I felt a mixture of excitement and guilt, but the excitement was stronger. "I'm meeting him tomorrow," I announced. My friends cheered like I'd won the lottery. That night, Deacon came home late, smelling like sawdust and looking tired. I was already in bed, pretending to read. "How was your mom's?" I asked. "Fine. Fixed her faucet and helped her move some furniture." "That's nice of you." He nodded and headed for the bathroom. When he came back, he climbed into bed but stayed on his side, not reaching for me like he used to. "Deacon." "Yeah? Do you still love me?" There was a long pause. "Yes. But I don't know if that's enough anymore." His words hit me like a slap. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means love isn't just a feeling, Irene. It's how you treat someone, how you talk about them, how you make them feel." "And how do I make you feel?" Another pause. Small. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but something in his voice stopped me. He sounded so defeated, so tired. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I know you are, but sorry doesn't change what happened." The next afternoon, I met Dylan at Grind. He was already there when I arrived, looking even better in daylight than he had in the dim club. He stood when he saw me, pulling out my chair like a gentleman. "You look beautiful," he said, and I felt a flutter in my stomach. "Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself." We ordered coffee and fell into easy conversation. Dylan was charming, funny, and most importantly, he was interested in everything I had to say. When I mentioned work, he asked follow-up questions. When I talked about my hobbies, he seemed genuinely fascinated. "So you're into photography," he said, leaning forward. "Just as a hobby. I'm not very good." "I bet you're better than you think. I'd love to see some of your work." When had Deacon last shown interest in my photography? I couldn't remember. "What about you? Tell me about your music." Dylan's face lit up as he talked about his band, their upcoming gigs, their dreams of making it big. He was passionate, animated, everything Deacon wasn't. "We're playing next Friday at the Metro. You should come." "I don't know. Bring your friends. It'll be fun. Unless your boyfriend would mind." The way he said boyfriend, with just a hint of mockery, made me defensive. "He wouldn't mind," I lied. "He's not the jealous type." "Good, because I'd hate for him to get the wrong idea about us having coffee." "What idea would that be?" Dylan smiled, and I felt my cheeks warm. "That I'm trying to steal his girlfriend." "Are you? Would you want me to?" The question hung between us, loaded with possibility. I should have said no immediately. Should have made it clear that I was committed to Deacon, that this was just friendly coffee. Instead, I smiled back and said, "I guess we'll see." When I got home, Deacon was in the kitchen making dinner again. Just one serving. "Where were you?" he asked without looking up. "Out with Emma, shopping." It was such an easy lie, and it rolled off my tongue without hesitation. Deacon just nodded, accepting it at face value because he trusted me. The guilt I expected to feel never came. Instead, I felt energized, alive. For 2 hours, I'd been with someone who appreciated me, who found me interesting and attractive, someone who made me feel special. "I might go out Friday night," I said casually. "The girls want to check out some new band." "Okay. You could come if you want." Deacon finally looked at me, and I saw something flicker in his eyes. Suspicion? Hope? I couldn't tell. "I'll think about it," he said, but I was already hoping he'd say no. Friday came faster than I expected. I spent an hour getting ready, choosing a dress that was just a little too tight, a little too short. When Deacon saw me, he raised an eyebrows. "That's what you're wearing to see a band?" "What's wrong with it?" "Nothing, it's just revealing." "It's called being fashionable, Deacon. Not everyone wants to dress like they're going to church." He flinched at the barb, and I immediately felt bad. But before I could apologize, Emma arrived to pick me up, honking her horn impatiently. "Have fun," Deacon said quietly. "Will you be okay here alone?" "I'll manage." I kissed his cheek quickly and headed for the door. "Don't wait up." The Metro was packed, the air thick with cigarette smoke and anticipation. Dylan's band was called Midnight Confession, and they were better than I'd expected. Dylan commanded the stage with confidence, his voice rough and sexy as he sang about heartbreak and redemption. When he spotted me in the crowd, he winked, and I felt a thrill run through me. "He's so hot," Chloe shouted over the music. "And he's totally into you," Emma added. After the set, Dylan found me at the bar. He was sweaty from performing, his hair disheveled, and he looked incredible. "What did you think?" he asked, leaning close so I could hear him. "You were amazing, really. Amazing enough to earn a drink with the most beautiful woman in the room." I blushed at the compliment. When had Deacon last called me beautiful? We found a quieter corner and talked for an hour. Dylan told me about growing up in a small town, about his dreams of making it in music, about all the places he wanted to travel. He was everything Deacon wasn't: spontaneous, adventurous, passionate. "What about you?" he asked. "What are your dreams?" The question caught me off guard. My dreams? Yeah. What do you want out of life, besides working at a dental office and dating an accountant? I laughed, but it sounded hollow. "I don't know. I guess I never really thought about it." "That's a shame. A woman like you should have big dreams." "What kind of dreams?" "I don't know. Travel the world, start your own business, fall madly in love with someone who sees how incredible you are." The way he was looking at me made my pulse race. "Dylan, I know you have a boyfriend, but does he make you feel alive? Does he challenge you, inspire you, make you want to be better?" I thought about Deacon, reliable and steady, making coffee every morning and balancing our checkbook. Safe, predictable, boring. "It's complicated," I said finally. "It doesn't have to be." Dylan's hand covered mine on the table, and I didn't pull away. His skin was warm, calloused from playing guitar. So different from Deacon's soft accountant hands. "I should go," I said, but I didn't move. "Should you? Or do you want to?" What I want and what I should do are two different things. Maybe that's the problem. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Deacon. "Hope you're having fun. Love you." The simple message hit me like a punch to the gut. Here I was, holding hands with another man, while Deacon was at home probably watching Netflix and missing me. I pulled my hand away from Dylan's. "I really do have to go." "Irene, wait." Dylan caught my wrist gently. "I know this is complicated, but I can't stop thinking about you, about us." "There is no us." "Isn't there?" He was right, and we both knew it. There was definitely something between us, something electric and dangerous. "Can I see you again?" he asked. I should have said no. Should have walked away right then and saved myself from what was coming. Instead, I heard myself say, "Maybe, just as friends." Dylan smiled. "Just as friends." But the way he said it, we both knew he was lying. When I got home, Deacon was asleep on the couch, the TV still on. He looked younger in sleep, vulnerable. I felt a wave of affection for him, mixed with guilt for what I was thinking about doing. I covered him with a blanket and went to bed alone. The next morning, Deacon was already up, making breakfast for both of us. It was such a normal, domestic scene that I almost broke down and confessed everything right there. "How was the band?" he asked, handing me a cup of coffee. "Good. They were really good." "I'm glad you had fun." He was trying so hard to be supportive, to show interest in my life. Why couldn't I appreciate that? "Deacon, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you think we're happy?" He paused, coffee mug halfway to his lips. "Are you happy?" "I asked you first." He set down his mug and looked at me seriously. "I'm happy when we're like this. Just us, talking, being together. But lately..." He trailed off. "But lately what?" "Lately it feels like you're looking for something I can't give you." "That's not true." "Isn't it? You want excitement, adventure, spontaneity. You want a guy who takes you to concerts and stays out until dawn. That's not me, Irene. That's never going to be me. I don't want you to change. Don't you? The question hung between us, and I realized I couldn't answer it honestly. Because maybe I did want him to change. Maybe I wanted him to be more like Dylan. I love you the way you are, I said finally, but it sounded forced even to me. Deacon nodded, but I could see he didn't believe me. And honestly, I wasn't sure I believed me either. That afternoon, Dylan texted me, "Can't stop thinking about last night. Coffee again." I stared at the message for 10 minutes before responding. When? Now? I know a place. I looked around our quiet apartment. Deacon was in his office working on weekend projects, being responsible and reliable, just like always. Send me the address. This time, we went to a small cafe in Lincoln Park, away from anywhere we might be recognized. Dylan was waiting outside when I arrived, and he greeted me with a hug that lasted just a little too long. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said. "I almost didn't. But you did. That has to mean something." We found a table in the back corner, away from other customers. The conversation flowed easily, but there was an undercurrent of tension, of possibility. "Tell me about him," Dylan said suddenly. "Who?" "Your boyfriend. Deacon, right?" I shifted uncomfortably. "Why do you want to know about him?" "I want to understand what I'm up against." "You're not up against anything. We're just friends, remember?" Dylan smiled. "Right, friends." But then he reached across the table and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, and I didn't stop him. "He's a good guy," I said quietly. "Stable, reliable. He loves me. But sometimes I feel like I'm suffocating, like I'm 25 years old and already settled into this middle-aged life. You're 32, not dead. That's what I keep telling myself. So why stay?" The question I'd been avoiding. Because it's safe. Because he's good for me. Because I love him. Do you? Or do you love the idea of him? I didn't answer because I wasn't sure anymore. Dylan leaned back in his chair, studying me. "You know what I think?" "What?" "I think you're scared. You've got this safe, predictable life all mapped out, but part of you wants to break free. Part of you wants to take a risk. And you think you're that risk?" "I know I am." He was right, and that terrified me. Being with Dylan would be a risk, to my relationship, my stability, my carefully constructed life. But it would also be exciting, passionate, alive. "I can't," I said finally. "Can't or won't?" "Both." Dylan nodded, but he didn't look discouraged. "I can wait." "Dylan, I'm not going anywhere, Irene. When you're ready to stop playing it safe, I'll be here." When I got home that evening, Deacon was cooking dinner. For two this time. "Perfect timing," he said, smiling. "I made your favorite. Chicken stir-fry with extra vegetables. Exactly the way I liked it. He'd even opened a bottle of wine." "What's the occasion?" I asked. "No occasion. I just wanted to do something nice for you." Guilt crashed over me like a wave. Here was this good, kind man who loved me enough to cook my favorite meal on a random Saturday night, and I was sneaking around having coffee with another man. "Deacon, Before you say anything," he interrupted, "I want to apologize." "For what?" "For being so cold this past week. I know you were just having fun at the club and I overreacted." "No," I wanted to scream. "You didn't overreact. You were right to be hurt." "I've been thinking about what you said," he continued, "about me being boring, not wanting to go out. Maybe you're right. Maybe I've gotten too comfortable, too set in my ways." "Deacon, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. I love you, Irene. And if going out more, being more social is what you need, then that's what we'll do." He was trying so hard, being so understanding, and it made what I was doing feel even worse. "I love you too," I said, and meant it. But as we sat down to dinner, my phone buzzed with another text from Dylan. "Thanks for today. Sweet dreams, beautiful." I deleted it quickly, but not before Deacon noticed me checking my phone. Everything okay? He asked. Just work stuff. Another lie. So easy it scared me. We had a nice dinner, talked about our weeks, watched a movie together on the couch. It was comfortable, familiar, exactly the kind of evening I used to love. So why did I spend the whole night thinking about Dylan? Over the next 2 weeks, I fell into a dangerous pattern. I'd meet Dylan for coffee, lunch, or drinks, always telling Deacon I was with Emma or the girls. The lies came easier each time, and Dylan grew bolder with each meeting. He'd touch my hand when he talked, compliment my appearance, text me good morning and good night. We hadn't crossed any major physical lines, but the emotional affair was in full swing. Deacon, meanwhile, was trying harder than ever. He'd started suggesting weekend activities, asking about my day, even planning a surprise dinner at that fancy restaurant downtown. He was being everything I'd claimed I wanted, but somehow it felt too little, too late. You seem distracted lately, he said one evening, as we walked through Lincoln Park. Just work stress, I replied, the standard lie I'd been using. Maybe you should look for something new. You've been complaining about that job for months. Maybe. Or maybe we could take a vacation, get away somewhere, just the two of us. I should have been excited about the prospect, but all I could think about was how Dylan had mentioned wanting to visit California, maybe drive up the coast. That sounds nice, I said without enthusiasm. Deacon stopped walking and turned to face me. Irene, what's going on? Nothing. Why? Because you've been different, distant, like you're somewhere else even when you're right here. My heart started racing. Did he know? Had he figured it out? I'm right here, I said, forcing a smile. Are you? Because it feels like you're already gone. The sadness in his voice almost broke me, almost made me confess everything right there on the park path. Instead, I kissed his cheek and said, You're being paranoid. But Deacon wasn't paranoid. He was observant, and the next day, while I was at work, he did something that would change everything. I was having lunch with Dylan at our usual cafe when my phone rang. Deacon's name appeared on the screen, and I felt a familiar stab of guilt. I should take this, I told Dylan. Irene, where are you? Deacon's voice sounded strange. At work. Why? I called the dental office. They said you were at lunch. My blood ran cold. I am at lunch. I just stepped outside. Okay, well, I was thinking we could meet for dinner tonight, that new Italian place. Sure, that sounds great. Good, see you at 7. He hung up and I stared at my phone with shaking hands. Everything okay? Dylan asked. Fine, just fine. But it wasn't fine. Deacon had called my work, which meant he was checking up on me, which meant he suspected something. That night at dinner, Deacon was unusually quiet. He ordered wine, made small talk about work, but I could feel him watching me, studying my responses. So, how was your day? He asked casually. Good, busy, the usual. What did you do for lunch? The question sounded innocent enough, but I caught the undertone. Just grabbed a salad at that place down the street. Alone? Yeah. Why? Deacon twirled his pasta around his fork, not meeting my eyes. No reason. Just curious. But I knew he was testing me, and I was failing. The tension between us grew thicker over the next few days. Deacon became quieter, more withdrawn, while I became more defensive and irritable. Our conversations felt like chess matches, each of us trying to anticipate the other's moves. Meanwhile, Dylan was pushing for more. I want to see you tonight, he texted one Thursday afternoon. Can't. Deacon will be suspicious. So tell him you're working late. I can't keep lying. Then stop lying. Tell him the truth. The suggestion terrified me. Tell Deacon about Dylan, about the lunches, the texts, the growing feelings I was trying to ignore. I'm not ready for that. When will you be ready? When you're married to him? When you're 40 and wondering what if? His words hit too close to home. Was that what I was doing? Settling for safe while letting excitement pass me by? Tonight. but just for an hour. That evening, I told Deacon I had to work late to finish some insurance paperwork. Again, he asked, "You've been working late a lot recently." "It's just temporary. Dr. Peterson is behind on his billing." Deacon nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. I met Dylan at a wine bar in Wicker Park, somewhere Deacon would never think to look. Dylan was waiting in a corner booth, and when he saw me, his face lit up. "I was starting to think you'd changed your mind," he said, standing to kiss my cheek. "I almost did. But you didn't. That has to mean something." We ordered wine and fell into our usual easy conversation, but tonight felt different, more charged, more dangerous. "I can't keep doing this," I said after my second glass of wine. "Doing what?" "This, sneaking around, lying to Deacon. It's not fair to him." "What about what's fair to you?" "What do you mean?" Dylan leaned forward, his eyes intense. "You're 28 years old. 32. 32. You're 32 years old, and you're living like you're 60, playing house with a guy who doesn't appreciate what he has. Deacon appreciates me." "Does he? When's the last time he surprised you? When's the last time he made you feel like the most important thing in his world?" I wanted to argue, but I couldn't think of an answer. "I think about you constantly," Dylan continued. "I wake up thinking about you. I go to sleep thinking about you. You're in my head all the time." "Dylan, I'm falling in love with you, Irene." The words hung between us like a live wire. I should have shut it down immediately, should have told him it was impossible. Instead, I felt my heart racing and my resolve crumbling. "You don't mean that." "I do. I love your laugh, your smile, the way you light up when you talk about something you're passionate about. I love that you're not afraid to speak your mind, even when it gets you in trouble." This is crazy. Maybe. But sometimes crazy is exactly what you need. Dylan reached across the table and took my hand, and this time I didn't pull away. "Leave him," he said quietly. "What?" "Leave Deacon. Be with me. We could be amazing together." "I can't just leave him. We live together. We have a life together." "A life that makes you miserable." "It doesn't make me miserable." "Doesn't it? When's the last time you were truly happy? Not content, not comfortable, but genuinely, completely happy?" I thought about it and realized I couldn't remember. "Come home with me tonight," Dylan said. "No." "Why not?" "Because if I do, there's no going back." "Maybe it's time to stop going back." I stared into his eyes, seeing everything I thought I wanted: passion, excitement, the unknown. All I had to do was say yes. My phone buzzed. A text from Deacon. "Hope work isn't too stressful. Made your favorite tea for when you get home. Love you." The simple sweetness of it broke the spell. I pulled my hand away from Dylan's and stood up. "I have to go." "Irene, wait." "No, this is wrong. I'm with Deacon, and he doesn't deserve this." Dylan stood too, blocking my path. "What about what you deserve?" "I deserve to be honest with the man I love." "Do you love him, really, or are you just scared to admit you've outgrown him?" The question followed me all the way home, where I found Deacon asleep on the couch with a book in his lap and a cup of tea cooling on the coffee table. He'd waited up for me, probably fighting sleep until he couldn't anymore. I covered him with a blanket and went to bed alone, Dylan's words echoing in my head. The next morning, Deacon was up early, making breakfast as usual. But when I came into the kitchen, he didn't greet me with his usual smile. "We need to talk," he said quietly. My stomach dropped. "About what?" "About where you really were last night." "I told you I was working." "No, you weren't." His voice was calm, but I could hear the pain underneath. "I called Dr. Peterson's office at 8 p.m. The cleaning crew said everyone had left hours ago." I felt the world tilt around me. "Deacon, I can explain." "Can you? Because I'd really like to hear an explanation that makes sense." I opened my mouth, but no words came. How could I explain without making everything worse? "Are you having an affair?" he asked directly. "No. God, no, it's not like that." Then what is it like? I sank into a chair, feeling trapped. It's complicated. Uncomplicated. I've been having coffee with someone. Just coffee. Nothing physical happened. Deacon was very still. Someone. A guy I met at the club. Dylan. But it's not what you think. What do I think, Irene? You think I'm cheating, but I'm not. We're just friends. Friends don't lie to their boyfriends about having coffee. He was right, and we both knew it. How long? He asked. A few weeks. How many times? I don't know. Maybe 6 or 7. Deacon closed his eyes like I'd slapped him. 6 or 7 secret meetings with another man. They weren't secret, they were just private. What's the difference? Deacon sat across from me, holding the envelope like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Do you have feelings for him? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. He waited. When the silence became its own answer, he nodded once and spread the photographs across the table. Me laughing with Dylan at the corner cafe. Me letting him tuck my hair behind my ear. Me letting him kiss my cheek outside the wine bar. My stomach turned inside out. I hired someone, he said, voice flat. Because you wouldn't tell me the truth. I stared at the pictures. In every single one we looked. Happy, guilty, in love. Deacon, I'm moving out tonight. No, please, we can fix this. He gave a small, tired laugh. You keep saying we. There hasn't been a we since the first time you lied about where you were. I watched him pack. 2 suitcases. The navy sweater I bought him last Christmas. The watch I'd had engraved. He left everything else. The coffee maker, the photos on the fridge, the little succulent he'd saved when I forgot to water it. At the door, he stopped. I loved you enough to believe you when you said it was nothing, he said. You loved the feeling of being wanted more than you loved me. That's the difference between us. Then he walked out. I stood in the hallway a long time after the door closed, listening to the apartment get quieter than it had ever been. Eventually, I picked up my phone. Dylan, you okay? Me. He's gone. Dylan. Come over. We'll get drinks, celebrate the new chapter. I stared at the message until the screen went black. I didn't answer. I sat on the couch that still smelled like Deacon's aftershave and finally admitted the truth to myself. I hadn't been looking for a way out of my relationship. I'd been looking for permission to destroy it, and I'd just been granted it.